the United States just fired a shot across Beijing's bow, unveiling the F-47, a sixth-generation stealth fighter already in production and set to fly by 2028. With a tailless Mach 2 design and a combat radius topping 1,000 nautical miles, the F-47 is built to dominate China's backyard. Washington's message is blunt. As China rolls out its own next-gen warplanes, US air superiority isn't up for negotiation. The United States has started manufacturing its F-47 sixth-generation fighter jet and plans for it to be flying in 2028. A senior US Air Force official announced on September 22nd, 3 weeks after China showcased its new fighter jets during its Victory Day military parade. During his keynote address at the 2025 Air, Space and Cyber Conference, US Air Force Chief of Staff General David Olvin said Boeing had started production of the F-47. Graphics released by the US Air Force and Boeing suggest it has a tailless design with a combat radius exceeding 1,000 nautical miles and a speed exceeding Mach 2. The F-47's specific design and other details are highly classified. During the announcement of the jet, US Secretary of the Air Force Troy Mike teased the Chinese over the jet.
And the key here is, as we field this capability, we have to execute. In some case, execute, cost, schedule, and performance. Whether it's the F-47, which I love this picture. I know General Alvin, you were a big pusher of this program. You guys just love looking at this picture. I expect some of the Chinese intel analysts are spending a lot of time looking at this picture. Good luck. I'm trying to dig something out of there. Pretty careful about that.
In March, US President Donald Trump announced that Boeing would make the jets to replace the F-22 fighters under the Air Force's Next Generation Air Dominance (NGAD) program. At the time, Trump said experimental F-47X planes had been tested in secret over the past 5 years, with the first flight reportedly occurring in 2019. Olvin said the new sixth-generation fighter jet would ensure dominance into the future, along with other components of the NGAD system, after years of work, hundreds of test hours, thousands of man-years in the lab. The US Air Force has previously said that the F-47 was expected to make its maiden flight before the end of Trump's term of office, which ends in January 2029. Boeing has begun production of the F-47, the United States Air Force's new sixth-generation stealth fighter. The jet is part of the Next Generation Air Dominance (NGAD) program, which also includes advanced drones, weapons, sensors, and electronic warfare systems. Air Force Chief of Staff General David Olvin confirmed the update at the Air and Space Forces Association's 2025 conference, saying the first flight is planned for 2028. The jet is expected to feature all-aspect stealth, reduced infrared signature, and next-generation networking to control future drones. What will the F-47 be able to do? According to the Air Force, the fighter will have a combat radius over 1,000 nautical miles, about 25% more than current jets. Speeds above Mach 2. Potential supercruise capability, though details remain classified. The F-47 will also plug into the wider NGAD system, with advanced sensors and data links to manage unmanned collaborative combat aircraft. How many will be built and at what cost? Air Force plans to buy at least 185 jets, replacing the F-22 Raptor. Estimates suggest each F-47 could be 3 times the price of an F-35, more than $300 million per aircraft. That being said, the Air Force clearly sees the F-47 as a key part of its future force structure, especially with an eye toward a potential high-end fight against China in the Pacific. China's Air Force is improving rapidly, but has not yet matched the combat capabilities of the US Air Force, according to the Pentagon's 2024 annual report on Chinese military power and officials who contributed to it. The report highlights advances by the People's Liberation Army Air Force, PLAAF, particularly in unmanned aerial systems, which are now approaching US standards. It also notes progress in air-to-air missiles, electronic warfare, bombers, and fifth-generation fighters.
The PLAAF, with respect to its modernization and indigenization of unmanned aerial systems, is quickly approaching US standards.
A separate Hudson Institute study by Thomas Shugart and Timothy Walton, published in January 2025, underscores the growing threat to US bases in the Pacific. The authors note China has made major investments to defend, expand, and fortify its airfields, more than doubling the number of hardened aircraft shelters and adding new taxiways and ramps. By contrast, US and allied airfield capacity in the region is only about 1/3 that of China's and drops to just 15% without South Korea and the Philippines. China's growing military strength was on display on September 3rd during a parade marking the 80th anniversary of Japan's defeat in World War II. The event featured more than 10,000 troops, over 100 aircraft, and hundreds of vehicles. Beijing showcased only domestically produced systems, including drones, electronic jamming equipment, hypersonic missiles, and air defense technologies. Among the highlights were new variants of the J-15 carrier-based fighter, such as the J-15T with electromagnetic catapult compatibility and the J-15DH and J-15DT electronic warfare aircraft. The parade also introduced the J-35, China's second fifth-generation fighter jet. Looking ahead, China is reportedly developing sixth-generation fighters. Leaked photos and videos suggest prototypes known as the J-36 and J-50 feature tailless designs and triple-engine configurations.